Gervonta Tank Davis is grinding in camp, pushing through hard rounds and sharpening every counter for Jake Paul. The mood is tense and dangerous, and it feels like one mistake could end the night with a single punch. Bernard Hopkins leans in with that calm veteran tone, setting the stage for a cold truth about Tank's danger. He stated, "Tank carries the power. He's sneaky, explosive. You think you're doing something," and he rides off that overconfidence. That warning cuts deep because it speaks to timing, not just force, and timing breaks plans faster than any punch. It means Jake cannot relax for a single beat because the moment he feels in control is the moment the counter lands. Confidence turns into a trap, distance turns into a lane, and Tank steps through it like a door. You can see how one sharp burst could flip the fight from safe to scary in a second. If Jake wants to survive, he must stay calm, reset often, and never chase a moment that is not there. And if Hopkins is right, the real story here is not noise or size, but who keeps their head when the lights get hottest. Hopkins break it down like an old school lesson in combat, reminding everyone that every punch creates a window. He is pointing at a truth that decides fights in a blink.
He's so interesting
Baltimore, Maryland. He's so old school. Know what old school is?
Yeah.
Anybody that's throwing punches is open to get hit. Anybody and everybody that throw punches, you leave an opportunity. It's who get there first. It's like fencing. When you throw punches, no matter how straight, no matter how your stance are, when this becomes away from your body and things that you need to protect, the ribs, the chin,
There's always an opening.
it's always opening. Who get there first?
And Tank is so good at
Tank is so good.
The picture gets sharp. This is a timing race, and if Jake Paul reaches second, the exchange can swing against him fast. His jab and right hand must return straight to guard, or that tiny gap turns into trouble. He has to keep his feet under him, slide out after scoring, and never admire his work. Volume without balance will only feed counters he will not see. If he treats each entry like a quick steal and exit, he can make Tank reset and slow the storm. He shifts from power to craft, pointing at how the bait appears real until you reach for it. He is warning that the first look is rarely the true look.
Tank will give you something that's really not there. It's literally, you think is, about the three top, the ball into three top hustle. You think he showed it to you. You think and he did a couple of these. It's not there.
Right.
He shows you something that is like an illusion. Might not be the first time once he tried you and you go for it, but it's coming. And that's how he set you up. He set traps.
The game becomes patience over pride. Jake Paul must ignore the shiny openings and force Tank to show the real target twice. A busy feint, a stiff double jab, and quick resets can turn the trap back on the setter. He should score small, step off the line, and keep his eyes on Tank's hips and shoulders, not the glove waving in his face. When the rhythm feels smooth, that is the moment to slow it down, breathe, and refuse the bait. If he can make Tank chase rather than lead, the path to 10 smart rounds starts to appear. Bernard Hopkins shifts from tactics to psychology, warning that fear of the punch drains you before it even lands. He reminds everyone that against a true finisher, every round is a risk, and one clean shot can rewrite the night.
Your mind is burning energy.
Yeah.
You physically burning energy because right? Even if he just touched you in the arm, based on what you've been hearing through the whole press conference and through the whole fights he had before then, yourself, that you better not get hit.
Yeah.
See, power rules everything around you. One thing about power, you can lose all the fights, all the rounds, and that power. Come on.
Yep.
Right? That would make the Foremans, the Mike Tyson.
Deontay Wilder.
Power. Rules.
Yeah.
I got one shot and it's over. I can be losing the whole 90, I can be losing all the way to the 12th round and hit you with that power. And to get to the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, You walking and treading danger. You walking through a minefield that any time, any bad move, it's over.
Yeah.
Fighting Tank is like that.
The message is simple and scary for Jake Paul. He must manage his energy and his nerves, or the threat will tire him before the real exchanges begin. Tight defense, steady feet, and no lazy exits after combinations are non-negotiable. He should score small, clinch when he needs a breath, and never chase a moment that is not there. If he loses focus for even 1 second, the fight can flip with a single punch. That is the danger he walks through from bell to bell. Joe Rogan breaks down Tank's rhythm, explaining why opponents freeze even when nothing seems to be happening. He paints it like a slow squeeze where pressure builds in silence and then snaps without warning.
Yeah, he sets traps and he's got ridiculous one-punch knockout power too. He's just such an interesting fighter because his style is so different from everybody else. He's so conservative in the early rounds, throws so few punches, and he lets you work. He lets you work and you're backing up and you're always afraid of that power, and he's just moving in, trying to find that opening where he just gets in there on you.
That view matters for Jake Paul because patience can turn into waiting, and waiting becomes danger. He must score in small bursts and move his feet before the return comes. Touch the chest with the jab, step off the line, and reset the stance fast. Keep the guard tight on exits and smother replies when the pocket gets crowded. Use smart clinches after clean shots to steal seconds and break the rhythm. If he controls tempo and denies clean looks, the late ambush loses its bite. Calvin Ford speaks like a coach who has seen every trick in the book and still believes in a fair fight. He puts the focus on equipment and rules because those choices shape how dangerous each punch becomes.
Actually, when I heard about the fight, they called me and said, what you thought about the fight? I say, the fight doable. You know what I'm saying? Because I watched Tanky for years and I watched other young men in gyms, you know, deal with big guys. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he's big. To me, it's like Jake having his first open fights. If anybody know about the amateurs going open, then you go pro. So, you know, he's a very fighter guy that does have skills. You know what I'm saying? My only concern is, you know, the gloves. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't fight in 12-ounce gloves. We don't use 12-ounce gloves. That's training gloves. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's 2 pounds away from Jake. He fights in 10s. Tank fighting 8s, so he losing 4 ounces. So my thing is, I said, they said, put Tank in 8s, put him in 10s. That makes the fight more interesting. You know what I'm saying? And we'll go from there because I understand. And I brought that question up to one of his handlers. They was, no, we don't want to do no mixed match. It's supposed to be an expedition. What, you know, now y'all want the wins and the loss. You know what I'm saying? All these prescriptions, but you want to be great. Being great is really pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying? You know, Tank don't really care, you know? So when I brought this up, he said, dang, facts. You know what I'm saying? So, again, you know, he can wait at 10s and we wait at 8s. Then we got to fight.
For Jake Paul, these details matter more than hype because glove size and limits can change how much sting gets through the guard. If the setup feels balanced, Jake can commit to his jab and combinations without second guessing every exchange. But if the terms tilt toward heavy fire, he must box disciplined and refuse messy trades. He should manage distance, pick his moments, and keep Tank turning, not set in front of him. The smarter he is with entries and exits, the less those tiny margins can flip the night. In a fight like this, small rules can have big endings. Ford shrugs off the final number on the scale like a man who trusts the work more than the weigh-in. He signals that once the ink is dry, excuses are useless and solutions are everything.
They got him at 190, 195. I thought it was going to be 190. So they gave him 5. So again, they keep giving, you know. I ain't worrying about the weight. You know what I'm saying? We got to deal with it. We taking the fight. We signed the contract. We're going to make it do what it do.
That mindset puts pressure on Jake Paul to show he can carry the extra size without slowing his feet. He must use his frame to clinch smart, nudge Tank offline, and steal breath without getting lazy in the pocket. If he plants too long, the counters arrive fast. The right approach is simple. Touch, turn, reset, and keep the tempo where he thinks first. Make Tank reach, and the openings appear, chase, and they vanish. Weight is only an edge if your decisions are sharp enough to use it. Ford brings it back to the grind, reminding everyone that the fight is won in weeks, not minutes. He wants proof that every variable, gear, pace, shape, has been handled before the walk.
How he handled himself through camp. Camp is the most important thing, because if you have a good camp, you're gonna have a great fight. So my thing is just making sure the camp is good. We doing all the necessary things, dealing with the weight, the gloves and all that stuff, you know.
For Jake Paul, that means showing up with a plan that survives fatigue and nerves. When the lungs burn, your habits take over, so his habits must be clean. Hands back, head off center, feet ready to pivot. He should rehearse the exits as much as the entries until they happen without thought. If he keeps the second and third steps tidy, Tank's bursts find less target. Good camp turns chaos into routine, and routine beats panic. On fight night, preparation becomes the quiet weapon. Ford strips away the show and warns against underestimating a motivated opponent. He expects resistance the moment the leather lands.
No, I'm gonna tell you, this is what I tell Tank, and Tank said it in the interview. I said, Tank, y'all going there doing y'all thing, woo. I said, he ain't giving you nothing. Let's look at it. Look at all the persons he fought. He ain't giving them nothing, especially when he fought Tyson. He took a lot. He stripped Tyson of a lot of things. And I said, he ain't giving you nothing. You mean to tell me you start hitting Jake with some shit, he ain't gonna fight back? He said, fact. So I said, you gotta take him serious. You get what I'm saying? Because he talked about, he had you on a hit list before this fight even happened. So his mental is on you. And he said it in the interview. How you think about something, make it come out, and look where we at there. It's about to happen. So you have to take him serious.
Jake Paul cannot rely on shock value. He must be ready for instant return fire. That means finishing combinations with defense, rolling, or stepping out, and never admiring a clean shot. If he forces Tank to reset after every exchange, the momentum stays honest. But if he lingers, the payback comes hard. He should keep his emotions flat and treat every success like a setup for the next safe exit. Respect cuts both ways, and the one who respects danger longer usually leaves smiling. Ford hints that the stage might flip a switch inside Tank, pulling out a meaner version than we have seen lately. He sounds excited and slightly amused at what pressure can unlock.
What we want to see, we don't know his performance of this fight. You know, Tank been talking this way, and I understand that why he's talking that way. He's been doing it for so long. You know, if you work a regular job, you've been doing it so long, and you see it's like you want to it get bored. So this fight might wake him up. You know what I'm saying? This fight might bring that beast back. You always talk about, I don't want to do certain things because I need my beast to be in me, you know, and being around him, he's at a good place right now, a great place.
If that switch flips, Jake Paul must turn the volume down on chaos. He should break rhythm with feints, clinch on cues, and make the ring feel big, not small. Crowd surges and wild moments are traps. Breathe, step, jab, and reset. The longer he keeps the temperature manageable, the more he can stretch the rounds. One greedy exchange can light the spark he is trying to avoid. Calm is Jake's best weapon if the beast wakes up. Ford waves off the highlight reel fantasy and talks about steady damage. He believes discipline can grind hope out of a fighter piece by piece.
Well, you know me, I don't believe in knockouts, I believe in punishment. This a big tall glass of work. You know, if Tank put in the work that I believe that he's been doing for so many years, man, it's gonna have people really thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know Jake is coming to fight. I just know it. You know what I'm saying? He have this thing in his head. He's seen what Roach did to him. You know what I'm saying? But it's things that I know that he don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be an interesting night that night.
That is a tough picture for Jake Paul if he lets rounds stack without answers. He must bank small wins, jab to chest, touch the body, and leave before the reply. Keep the elbows tight, deny clean looks, and force Tank to earn every step. If he steals seconds with smart clinches and steady pivots, the clock becomes an ally. Ryan Garcia steps in with the voice of someone who has felt Tank's power up close. He frames this matchup as bigger than hype, hinting at a line between pure sport and pure spectacle.
Yeah, bro, that's a disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like Mike Tyson, low-key was a disgrace, but we accepted it. But
Yeah.
he was 60 years old. I mean,
Right.
the casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're gonna think Jake Paul is some pound for pound champion type of fighter.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like when I fought him, like, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very unfair fight.
His message raises the stakes for Jake Paul in a very real way. If this is viewed as a sideshow, Jake must turn it into a serious fight with clean, disciplined boxing from the first bell. He needs to earn respect behind a sharp jab, smart clinches, and quick exits, not wild swings. Any lazy moment will invite the kind of counter Garcia knows too well from experience. Public opinion can flip fast if Jake shows ring IQ and patience under fire. If he cannot, the night becomes a lesson in levels, and Tank will be the one teaching. Chael Sonnen questions the business side first, asking if the hype will match the numbers. He frames Tank as a dangerous fighter who is not always the best at selling the show, which puts more pressure on Jake Paul to carry the event.
I'm taking one crack at this. If the numbers are not there, I'm getting off this bandwagon immediately. It's not as bad of a fight as you guys think, for one. It is the exact opposite of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul for two. So the fight that was being dangled and rumored in front of us, the exact opposite has happened. The opposite of fighting Anthony Joshua is not fighting nobody. The opposite of fighting Anthony Joshua is fighting Tank Davis. Okay, so there's one big glaring issue for me. It's just your partner being Tank Davis. Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. It could be a title fight, a contenders fight, a main event fight. He could be the favorite, he could be the underdog. Tank doesn't know how to bring that information to you guys in a way that is compelling. And Tank is already blinking in this situation.
If the spotlight tilts his way, Jake must turn attention into trust with sharp sound bites and sharper boxing. He needs to sell through performance, touching with the jab, showing ring IQ, and closing each exchange safely. If he chases viral moments, he will walk into answers he cannot handle. But if he controls pace and space, the story becomes his. Media heat will swing fast if the action looks competent and the risk feels real. This is where promotion meets proof in real time. He draws a hard line between an elite pro and a crossover star, insisting that skill and dedication should decide the night. The message is that Tank must make boxing look like a real sport again against a celebrity challenger.
You have one guy who is argued amongst the pound for pound current greats in boxing. You have another guy that has suggested he should not even be allowed to box, that he should have to call it something different. He should not be licensed. He should not be ranked in the top 14. He should never be selected for a world title. Okay. Now, Tank has one job to do, which is to let anybody know that's listening that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. My life's commitment and dedication versus a second or third or fourth thought in the world of priority on your list. And I used to believe those things.
For Jake, that means proving habits, not headlines. He must show rounds of discipline, steady feet, and clean defense when the heat rises. If he keeps the jab honest and refuses sloppy trades, the skill gap narrows. One calm counter and quick exit can change how people view this matchup. If Tank steamrolls with timing and pressure, the old order stands. If Jake holds firm and scores smart, he rewrites the script in front of everyone. He looks back at lessons from MMA and Mayweather versus McGregor, where weight and myth did not behave the way fans expected. The warning is that size and narrative can bend outcomes in strange ways.
Now, I go back far enough in MMA that I've had my eyes open a number of times. The fact that karate was so incredibly useless, or the fact that Jeet Kune Do was so incredibly useless, like, these were not things that I would have bet on when I was in high school. as a wrestler at that time, I would not have assumed that I would fare well in a fight against somebody that knew Kung Fu. We had all been falsely led through Hollywood. Not through competition, not through sport, not through understanding of the game, but just through Hollywood. We were told that those guys were the most dangerous guys. So, we then eventually get up to Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, which had a weight discrepancy, but it was very small. I mean, I watched him weigh in, I want to say it was like 8 pounds. It was something very small, but you understood that Conor was pulling to those 8 pounds, and he might put on another 10 overnight, and it could be an 18-pound difference. Like, never has that ever come up in fighting. From the free formats to the pugilists, it had never come up. When Randy Couture fought and he spotted Gonzaga or he spotted Josh Barnett 40 pounds, or when Brock Lesnar fought and he took 40 or 50 pounds on every single opponent, they just go, well, that's just the heavyweight class. They're right. I have no idea what difference it makes. There was a time where they didn't even weigh him in because it literally wasn't taken into consideration, but I'm just sharing with you. Eventually, Conor and Floyd fought, and everybody goes, oh crap. This thing, this sport that we truly believed in turned out to not be as real as we hoped.
Against Tank, Jake's size only matters if he uses it with discipline. He should lean on a busy jab, clinch when crowded, and make Tank reset before the counter comes. If he marches straight in, the precision will carve him up. If he angles and forces Tank to reach, the openings appear on his terms. The fight becomes a test of who manages risk, not who talks louder. That is how an underdog can turn theory into trouble. Chael argues that being the better technical boxer does not always mean you win under boxing rules. He calls out how expectations can collapse when pressure, pace, and small advantages add up.
Having better boxing than a guy doesn't necessarily mean you can beat that guy up. In fact, if you conform the rules and make it just boxing rules, being a better boxer than this guy doesn't even mean you can beat a guy up under those rules. And it was a wildly disappointing moment for boxing. It didn't hurt the sport of boxing because it's not a real sport. There's not boxing fans. When you meet a guy and he tells you what a huge boxing fan he is, he doesn't know anything about boxing. He couldn't tell you 3 of the members on the last Olympic team. He couldn't tell you 3 of the top contenders to make the following Olympic team. He doesn't actually know boxing. It was just more simplistic than learning where the 3-point line was or what the end zone in a touchdown or what a conversion is. Those words were so complicated to him that he hung his hat on being a boxing fan, but he didn't actually care about boxing. He doesn't actually know boxing. He doesn't have a federation card with IBF boxing, USAW boxing. And I'm only sharing that as it was this really colossally disappointing moment when Floyd needed 30 minutes to get rid of a guy who had never done the sport before, and the only thing you could hang your hat on was the 8 pounds that we knew about and possibly the alleged 18 pounds.
Here, the tiny things will matter. Ring position, exits after 2 shots, and the last 30 seconds of each round. Jake should make it tactical and slightly ugly while staying within the rules, forcing Tank to spend energy to set traps. Tank must command the center, touch the body, and manage time like a pro. If either man blinks on details, the scorecards tilt. Casual viewers will judge by moments, not nuances. The fighter who controls those moments will control the night. Chael pushes back on talk about size and testing, warning that pre-fight narratives can become ready-made excuses. He stakes a bold claim that outcome will crush all the chatter.
So now you got Tank. And Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. Now, to walk the line and to continue on the story the way the story started, which was it does not matter how big you are. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. Well, no, it turns out that you don't. Turns out you could be the only boxer in the bar. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. And boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. And I just share with you, Tank Davis has already began this. And now I read a report today that Jake has agreed to the strictest drug testing possible to ensure that there's no steroids in this fight. What difference would that make? What if we put that to Jake, but we made an exception for Tank? Like, hey, Jake, no steroids. Tank, take all the steroids you can get your hands on. Like, what difference would that make? What are you trying to imply? Other than to set up yet another excuse for why Jake's gonna beat Tank. Jake's gonna beat Tank badly.
For Jake Paul, this is the chance to shock a system that doubts him. He must avoid corners, touch and turn, and deny the counters that make Tank lethal. For Tank, the job is to walk him down, break his rhythm, and remind everyone why levels exist. The drug testing headlines and weight debates will vanish the moment someone gets hurt. If Jake outthinks the pressure, the upset becomes plausible. If Tank times the entries, the lesson will be short and harsh. This matchup is power versus patience, craft versus belief. Tank brings timing that can end a round in one blink, while Jake's only path is discipline, jab, move, reset, no greedy trades. If the rules, weight and nerves stay in check, skill should rule, but one clean shot can erase every plan. If Jake keeps his feet active and refuses the traps, he can stretch this fight and win respect. What about you? Who wins and how? Do gloves and weight matter here? Or is timing everything? Can Jake handle the pressure without freezing? Does Tank need to start faster or keep the slow squeeze and pounce late? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tune in for more videos like this.